welcome to the Hawks Nest live stream show. My name is Brandon Kane, and I do appreciate you for tuning on in on a hopefully what would be a lovely Monday for you. It's never fun going back into work, but hopefully your day is kicking off well and right, and maybe we can make it a little bit better today. We're getting you excited by some of these draft prospects that we've been looking at here over about the last 2 weeks, and we round our way on into day 3 today as we just keep on cooking along here, looking at another prospect that's got a lot of interesting things to him. It's a prospect that the Hawks drafted and believe that they're grabbing really a grade A player in a lot of respects, but they're getting the benefit of the fact that, well, he suffered a real late season injury, and that's what then knocked down his draft status, put him down into where they were able to select him there in this draft. And so the team really does look at this guy, I think, as many people have said, if he had been healthy, and I'm talking about Rylie Mills, the big brawler, that if he was healthy, he would have been probably at the very least a top 50 player. And so in a draft that was filled to the brim with players that the Seattle Seahawks right and left were looking for the upside, and that seemed to be a driving force of trying to look and go and seek to find difference makers for the position, even at the risk of not always having a certain floor that you're able to operate off of. And when you have a guy that's going to be coming off the torn ACL he is at the end of the year like he did, not a lot of floor there that you know you're going to get, that he will come back fully healthy. They will be coming back to what he was prior to the injury. But look, with these ACL injuries, these don't tend to be ones that are like some of the other injuries you can have happen to the back or the foot. It does tend to be one that they can get fixed and that you can get over. And this kid is a real fun player in what he brings to the table. We're going to watch some of his tape today, and I think you're going to find from him a real unique styling to the way that he operates inside and the way that Notre Dame asked him to operate inside. And I think that there's almost a little bit within looking at this player, a bit of a tell as well from the Seattle Seahawks about a little bit of some things I think they're going to be looking to do on their front, the front four, and specifically as we move into the future and how they utilize those guys and what this guy brings from a skill set standpoint, how that will fit really well into it as you start to see, I think, where they're leaning in towards what is, I think, going to become more and more of a league trend when it comes to your pass rushers. But we're going to get to that in just a second. Let's first off talk about Rylie Mills kind of as the player to begin things off. This is a former 3-star recruit who was grabbed then by Notre Dame. He was, not one of those, not recruited by anybody, had to walk on. No, this guy was a 3-star, but a very hot to trot after him kind of 3-star from so many teams. You had Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, all the big dogs were on his heels. But yet he did end up choosing to go to Notre Dame and become part of that program. So he did have options. Kid's been a very talented kid, even going back into high school. He had, of course, become a captain by this year. He was a 5th-year guy, originally coming on the kind of initial COVID year, but he did become a captain as well in this year. Another part that we've seen has been a commonality among many of these draft prospects is how many of them were captains on their teams, and that you're hoping that leadership can carry over. And ideally, you'd love to build a team of leaders, a team of guys that were all captains at their college level, because I think that there's a feeling that if you add those kind of players in this way, you're getting guys that are truly taking on the responsibility and understanding of what they need to do as a pro, and that they're not going to take shortcuts, that they're going to do it the right way, that they're going to put in the work that needs to be put in. And everything about this kid that you hear about him appears to be the case, especially when you consider a little bit of his transition to where he has ended up from a positional standpoint. Comes to Notre Dame through his first couple of years, and they're mainly playing him out at defensive end. He weighs 275 pounds, not used inside really at all, but maybe barely, hardly. He had to get some work done on hand usage and pad level, and that's something that you can kind of work out more on the edge. You don't want to be trying to work that out at the defensive tackle position. You need to get that born to kind of a mastered stage of things. But this is also maybe something that can give you a little bit of an indicator that this guy actually does have some upside to him for this position, even beyond just being a good prospect with some legit talent, but that, hey, he's new to the position. It's one of those, hey, he's just arrived here. He's just figuring out what is, and while he is figuring out what is, he's able to be dynamic and very productive for Notre Dame, and when that is the case. And that does absolutely stand out with this guy. So maybe a little bit more even of that hope beyond if the knee can't get right, to where the upside of this guy can be kind of a true and real of you can get a semi-monster maybe here in the player that you were able to grab. Now, by his junior year, he was able to get himself up to 290 pounds. Of course, this past year, he got himself up to 305, but another indicator of the work ethic. is that this guy was one of Bruce Feldman's freaks list. We got one of them in Nick Dermawari earlier in this draft, and then we got another one here in Rylie Mills. He was number 56 on Bruce Feldman's freaks list. He ran a 4.7940 there at Notre Dame, and when he was at about 290 pounds, 420-pound bench press. The guy squats about 550 pounds. So he's really going to live in that weight room. He's going to do it right in there. He's going to handle his business on that other side of it. But there is some freakish elements on this guy's game when you look at some of this stuff. Now, fully transitions here into a senior year into full-time defensive tackle mode. He gets maybe a couple snaps to the outside, but he is living at that point as a defensive tackle. And he gets his best year. Starts 13 games, 47 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss. That was the previous year. Sorry, the fifth year. 7.5 sacks, 8.5 tackles for loss, 17 total tackles, second team All-American honors from ESPN and Sporting News. So just really comes forward, has a really especially dynamic pass rushing grade and what he brought, to the table on this. And I, of course, am not going to have a Roz score for this guy, unfortunately, because he has torn his ACL. And in the playoff game there, and I'm going to show you the play, literally got a sack on the play that he tore the ACL, which is kind of brutal. But we don't have anything that we really have that we can go off of with him on that side of it. But when we look at his grades, well-graded player, 2023, he was a little bit better graded than this past year, though not bad this past year. And as you can see with the 23 and 24 season, he's really mainly getting the work done as far as a pass rusher goes. He supplies some ability as a run defender, so I don't want to paint it as being that he's not able to get some things done there. But he's got to mainly do it with activity as a run defender rather than strength and rooting down. Kind of what I mean by this is that you feel with him as a run defender that this is a guy that's transitioned from defensive end to defensive tackle and is now trying to play the run in a gap where he's learning to get comfortable and playing the run in that gap at that size. It's not necessarily just he's got it and it's all figured out there. Not bad against the run, but just a little bit more dynamic overall in what he brought as far as a pass rusher goes. But you can see the steady improvement from him as a player there at Notre Dame and how that showed up with his time. Nearly a 3-year starter. Kind of going over here and looking at some of his snap counts. AGP is essentially going to be when you've got him on a nose tackle snaps, right? So 13 snaps, not aligned up at the nose tackle very often. So you look to the far right-hand column, you got AGP, BGP, OVT, OUT. That's just speaking to the alignment of the player and where you had him on the defensive line. So just in general, just in quick understanding of this, if it's BGP, it's essentially they're a 3-tech. That's a pretty good indicator that those are snaps where they're aligned out of the 3-tech. So you can see pretty pure and simply here that the guy on 536 defensive line snaps, basically operating from the 3-tech at 438 of those snaps, that is going to be the position he plays. You can maybe do a little bit of him outside, as the OUT is outside. That's him out over the top of a tackle. OVT is a little bit of a widened out past just even the 3-tech a little bit. So, you like kind of 4-eye kind of thing there a little bit. So there are some snaps where he can be aligned a little bit with some width to the edge, but he is going to be a 3-tech, and that's really where you're going to use him on that side of it. Good tackler when he gets his hands on you. He's a big, strong guy. The reason I call him big, burly, big brawler kind of guy, because once he gets his hands on you, he's going to take you down. It's just a matter of, can he get to you? Does he stay blocked? Does he get off the blocks? That's, is really much the key with him. But he is a very fun player, and a player I understand where they look to with this. A couple years ago, we were looking at the kid out of Arizona, Allen, who went to the Denver Broncos. And that was a guy that we were actually looking to try to pair with Draymond Jones. We were trying to sign both of them in free agency at the same time, and the Broncos ended up getting him. And this guy that to me has a lot of comparison to Allen out there in Denver. They look very similar. They move very similar. They kind of win in the same way and how they go about their business. It really does stand out. So if you're looking for kind of a comp and what this player can kind of be, I think Allen would be the guy that stands out as that kind of guy. You're going to get a little bit of some somewhat Watt kind of vibes off of him, but this kid's not, got kind of that explosiveness of Watt. He's not the athlete that Watt was. Doesn't mean he's not got some good stuff to him on that side. Just we don't want to overstate the cause on this one as to, where that upside really, probably is, heading to. Let's get over here and look a little bit at some of the tape. We can't tell the story without, getting into the tape and really looking at it. And I'm going to show you just a couple of kind of the flash snaps here, so to speak, to begin with. Let me get my highlighter here. Bear with me here one sec, folks. All right. So you're getting him here. He's going to be your big guy on this one on the 3-tech right there. You're looking for number 99. I got some all 22 shots I'm going to show you, but these are just some of the kind of other highlights I could find of him. Really just kind of showing off what he brings as a pass rusher. So just bouncing off the block here. Good hand usage, nice little swipe to get past, good lateral ability. You're not going to see a lot of these kind of cut-ups in what I'm going to show you on this. I want to show you he did have this in his bag because a lot of what he is going to do is going to be the stunt and twist game off generating his pressure. That's where really that stuff is mainly going to happen. So we'll go here again. I'll give you the highlighter on this. You can see him right there operating off a 3-tech spot there. He's got his wide 9 on his right shoulder on this play, so keep an eye on him with that. Just kind of beats his man to the spot and gets around him, right? Not a lot of extra stuff here. You probably don't want to have a fullback, or I guess a tight end, call it an H-back. You probably don't want to have an H-back trying to block your 3-tech, do you? It's not the smartest of designs by the opposition on this one. So he just attacks, gets upfield quick. He definitely operates with a sense of urgency, and he plays hard. He plays fast. You don't see the guy taking a lot of downs off. He's definitely going to be your high motor kind of player. He brings that. You hope he would be able to whoop up on an H-back. You know, some of these guys can't. Another one here with him as a rusher, again from the 3-tech position. Show him right there onto the kind of right side of the line there. Here, just attacks in. And I want you to notice here on this, because you're going to see this, and this is what's going to jump out. And it's maybe as good a thing as any as far as time to kind of discuss this a little bit. Do you see here on this how when he gets off the ball, he's heading at the tackle? And so not launching into the guard, right? Heading after the tackle and allowing his wide 9 to stunt around him. So you can run a little bit of a loop. Now, this is a little bit of, I think, a bit of the key to this selection and something that I've been thinking about the Seahawks potentially doing here as we go into the future, quite frankly. In Alan Dirty, you have a guy that went from the Dallas Cowboys, and when he moved on from the Dallas Cowboys, the Cowboys at that time were running as much stunts and loops as anybody in the NFL that season. It was one of the places that Dan Quinn had brought forward in his defense from the Coach Carroll days. Because in Seattle, we would do some stunting and twisting, but I mean, they were almost feeling like they were doing it just about 24/7 at times with Dallas there and Dirty and of course, Micah Parsons. Because what you're doing with the stunting and looping is you're a lot of times really just attacking the lines that get too wide on their pass sets. So if you have a tackle with a Micah Parsons that just has to really, really retreat into the backfield and really, really gain a lot of space back there to make sure that he's catching his guy at the right spot, well, you can take advantage of that on a twist and a loop because he essentially takes himself out of pass protection with that kick step drop. You know, and now if your looper comes inside, you can cause a lot of confusion on those offensive lines with those twists and those stunts and those loops. For the Rams last year, a lot of what the Rams did, a big part of Braden Fisk's productivity last year as a pass rusher, all was coming off of those stunts and those loops. They would just do it constantly to offensive lines, and it would give them fits. And I'm wondering, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm wondering and looking at a little bit of the general trend on this one, if we're moving in a place where this is going to become kind of a du jour in the NFL, where it used to be maybe where you'd run stunts or twists and pass rush sets 10, 15% of the time. And now maybe we're going to see more of a bumping up into like 40, 50% of your pass rush sets. You're going to be trying to run that type of stuff. That this is one of the ways to really attack offensive lines in this day and age, especially when you're doing it off simulated pressures. So you bring down the stacked box, you got 7, 8 guys, you end up dropping back and you're keeping it to pure a 4-down alignment post-snap, but then you're twisting off of that post-snap alignment. It's not necessarily going to be the 4-down linemen that are coming. It could be a couple of their pass rushers that were linebackers, maybe a safety, maybe you're dropping your defensive lineman back in coverage. So this is how you can see where this could become kind of the new, like I say, du jour in the NFL, where you pair it with the stack boxes and simulated pressures. You're already confusing the hell out of the offensive line there for who's picking up who, where, when, and then you twist off of that, and now you're maximally confusing things. So when I show you some of these plays from this guy, keep in mind the fact that this is a very big centerpiece point to this guy's game. He did it as much in the college level as any pass rusher on the inside that I watched through all of my scouting process. This type of stuff where he's just constantly snap after snap attacking the edge or looping inside or just being a guy going in there like a bowling ball to just knock down bowling pins. That's really where he's operating from in this thing, rather than just purely winning with those pass rush moves. There's very rare of that, him doing like this here. Comes right up the middle. He's going to come right up the middle here. Just again, beat the man. Kind of a semi-rip move here at the end just to get through. But you don't get a lot of this from him and what he's doing. It's more going to be, I'm going to get angular here. I'm going to get lateral here post-snap. And I'm looking to just knock guys off their feet who can't see me coming. They're already maybe engaged in a block. And I can just come up and just kind of mollywop them a bit. And this is the one where he got injured on, this is the torn ACL play here. So he's coming on this play from actually the top side. You got him in a rare snap here. A line back out. No, I'm sorry. He's aligned inside. I had that wrong. I was looking at the wrong guy. So he's aligned right here, 3-tech. Get another snap here with one of these rarities where he's going to beat his guy with the rip, quicker to the spot, and then he just ends up, you can see if you watch his right leg here, see right here, his leg just kind of hits weird there. It just sort of gets stuck in the ground, so he's fighting his butt off, and the guy's got him. The guy's pushing, so the guy pushes on him right as his leg's getting planted here. So it was one of those kind of freak plays where you're not going to tend to have the guy still on your back when you're just trying to make the tackle on the other side. And he just kind of torques you at the wrong angle at the wrong time. But nice play there. More, though, of what you're going to get is what I call this. And it's, kind of oddball pressure is what we're going to be looking at here for you guys to take notice of. So run it once here so you can kind of see. So we got him here. We got him right here. Lined up 3-tech outside shoulder. Another one where just does a good job. You've seen this on a couple of cut-ups of just getting up the field quick. Gets past the lineman. Able to get into the backfield real fast. So there is some quickness to him. That's the benefit of getting a guy that's a former defensive end transitioning to the 3-tech, is that you hope there's some initial first step quickness, some lateral agility to him, and to be able to get that way. And that's definitely something that you get with him on that side of it. So this is why I call it oddball pressure. Hopefully you guys can get a little bit of an understanding of why I term it this, because just watch what he's doing. It makes me laugh a lot of times. It's just, he's trying to just kind of just walk into the shop and break all the dishes and knock everything off the cabinets and off the shelves. So he's racking into that guy. And then look at the move where he just kind of decides he's here. And so rather than just get upfield like you think he would do, he twists back sideways and then he goes into the center. So what's happening here is and he's just, look how he's trying to take up the blocker of his edge. He's just trying to create pure chaos. I mean, that's all. This isn't, I'm trying to get to the quarterback. This is almost, how many black jerseys can I grab and pick up and carry with me here in this play? I feel I got 2 here. Let's get the third guy right there. I got 2 here. Let's grab the third one. So these are kind of what I call oddball pressure. It's not exactly what you typically see. It's fun. And it's sometimes effective, but it is definitely kind of sometimes odd to watch. The going lateral back into the center here was that was a choice. That was definitely a choice on that one. Let's go with another one here. These are fun. So again here, we get him aligned actually now with one of those rare snaps where he's lined out the edge. I do think he can do some edge stuff for you at times. So I do think this is in his bag, especially power edge, early rundown edge. But watch again here with the slant. He's slanting the whole way here. And where's his slant take him? Back into making sure he first makes contact. So he's here and just get up the field here, go attack the quarterback. But instead, he's busy trying to help out number 3. Let me help out number 3, and then I'll get back to the quarterback. So very responsibility-based, what he's being asked to do. Selfless. You could also say that. Impressive. Then he's also getting the pass rush productivity he is this year, because there are so many plays like this where what he's doing is essentially going there to hammer the guard and then go rush the passer. Still creates a pressure there, though, doesn't he? Actually helps number 3 create a pressure as well. So it gets kind of a 2 pressure for 1 on this kind of play. But this is what he does. It's a lot of slanting and cutting back and going across the grain a little bit there. Show you another rep here where it gets a they get a pick 6 out of this one. So on the back of what he does here, but again, another one where he starts out, you see him starting out right there on the left hash, part of the hash. And then where does he end up? He's over on the far right of the hash where his pass rush basically takes him on the loop. So just kind of looping around, trying to loop through the traffic here. Not just trying to get up the field, but loop it around and then reward it on your effort. Kind of cool what Notre Dame was doing, because there's a lot of this advanced stuff they're doing on their defensive line to create the pressure. And outside of teams like maybe a Georgia, there's not as many college teams that would do as much of this stuff, where it's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of guys on the defensive line that have got a responsibility on the play that they have to take care of. It's not just the pure and simple, go see quarterback, get quarterback, which is a lot of defenses what they allow those guys to do, especially if you're a really talented guy like he is. Here again, I call him a bull in a china shop. He's just going to go and try to just wreck it. So you got him right here to the right, lined up as a 3 tech here again. Almost a 4-eye just about there. Then watch how he wraps. Knocks the guard. And the poor guard here, he's all, the poor center here, he's engaged. He's one-on-one with the nose tackle. The job's already hard enough for the poor guy. And then here comes Rylie. Like he barely has time to even see him coming. Oh, head on a swivel. Head on a swivel. Head on a swivel. And Rylie has no idea what's going on. He's got one mode of operation here, which is that I want to knock this guy's block off and then I'll go find the ball carrier. And he actually ends up finding the ball carrier. You've seen a couple of these plays, he's done it. But he's a lot of fun for this reason to watch, just because he's doing this type of stuff play after play. He's just looking to hit people in the face. And the poor center here, I mean, you feel for the guy. It's already hard enough. You got no double team help. And you got this guy viciously smacking you. Here a little bit more, you get the quickness angle of it, not as much the loop, just straight up good pass rush here from him. Just get right up the field. Does a good job of attacking with a little bit of, it's just power. It's really power that he gets him with. He's a strong man. Squats and benches 1,000,000 pounds. Effort, motor. Will he stay after it? Will he just keep coming? The guy doesn't take plays off, in my opinion, when you watch him play. He's out there laying it on the line, snap after snap after snap. And if he doesn't get a tackle, if he doesn't make a pressure, someone's going to feel the pain. You are going to at least get that. Here initially, what you like with this is that he's initially going to the rip. Boom. He wants to hit the rip here. The lineman gets in front of him, transitions back to power, and then walks him back. So good evidence there of a little bit of ability to counter into things. 1, back to the 2. And causes the throw to be well thrown off here. So not a completed throw here, and really driven by his pressure. Caleb's got a guy right there in his face there. So you can do a little bit of that too. It gives you a little bit of that. Again, just this is a motor play. He gets stifled here. He's going to be a 3 tech there to the left side. So he's right here where you want to concentrate on him here. Gets stifled. Engine keeps going. You like to see that on him. It's a part of his game. I know the high motor stuff isn't always looked at as a really cool thing that you're saying about pass rushers. But when it is up like this, where the engine is running red hot at all times and he's getting after it at all times, that's the one place where I'm going to definitely give him a lot of credit for that. And that's going to show up and be helpful at the next level. Now that stuff can get you some cleanup sacks and stuff like that, but not all guys go that hard, so to speak. All right, get him again here, lined up, kind of inside. He's almost in more of a sort of shaded role here a little bit, where you've got him now as in one of the few nose tackle snaps here, right? The other guy over here is your 3 tech. So you've got him in now more of not a nose tackle, but a 1 tech kind of spot here as he's a little shaded. There are some of those reps in there. I'm going to show you some nose tackle snaps, though, where you'll kind of feel he's not really a nose tackle. But here, use that lateral ability. This is like a stunt, right? His guy comes through and just basically launches himself like a torpedo at the 2 USC offensive linemen. Look at number 1 here off the right side. Just launches, and then he just peels around it. So it's harder to kind of assess with this guy because it's not just pure always pressure that he's getting and stuff, sacks like that. But when you have the motor and you got the good lateral ability like he does, movement-wise, you can see he does get a little bit high at times. So that pad level stuff is still something that he's still kind of working on a little bit. A little bit more of the loops and stunts. I wanted to show you guys this just to kind of reinforce the point I was making on this. This isn't as much a loop here. He's just kind of doing a nice little rip move to the right there. Not rip move, but swipe move there. Comes over and gets the sack. This is just kind of a beastly play. What's interesting about this is he's beating a tackle here. So you can see there is some maybe ability to move him a little bit to the outside and have him still be effective as an edge. And maybe they're even thinking that he can eventually be their power edge in this defense. It's possible that they see that role for him as well. It would make sense then why you have so much stack of 3 techs at this point by drafting this guy, is that you're thinking he can do some of that stuff. But that's a pure win there against the tackle. Just another beastly play where you feel his power and strength here. It's going to be on the right side here. And just he goes through 2 Cardinals here. Gets the 2 for 1 on this one. Tight end kind of comes over and tries to help out, and tight end ends up on his back. Speaks to it a little bit that you see the tight end 86 is aligned wide here. This is a little bit of an indicator of what Stanford thought of Rylie as far as a pass rusher, that you're bringing your tight end to help out with your right guard. They wanted to get a double team in on him. But look, he even still beats the double team and still gets back to the quarterback. Another one with good lateral ability here. Kind of underrated probably, and I probably underrated him in my initial scouting process for some of the lateral ability to get around wide like this. I mean, this is why they lean so heavily into the loops and the stunts, is because he just does it so well. He is got legit quickness when he's moving side to side a little bit for a guy at 300 pounds. It's not legit quickness as far as legit quickness for a foot, but for that size to move like that, you're going to be able to get around slower footed guards when that's the case. You're going to have things like this guy right here where, this is another tackle, by the way, that he's doing this. He's out quickening the tackle. And look at how he does this, where the tackle's got about half a shoulder of kind of cheat space to the outside to protect himself. So this is one where it's, the tackle is really set up to say, look, initially pre-snap, I'm not giving you that outside shoulder. You've got no chance at it. But he gets the tackle to buy so much inside and overset himself inside too much that then he opens it up to the outside. He barely almost has to get his hands on this to get around. He could have almost run around this guy without touching him, and it would have worked. So good quickness here from him. A little bit more of the stunt and loop game. Got him right here, back at the 3 tech roll, rocking it there. And then you watch him here and just stunt, loop around, get the sack. Caleb's got nowhere to go. So you can look at the tackles here when you're running the stunts and loop. And I talked to you guys about what you're attacking with the loops and the stunts are going to be those tackles, especially getting too wide. Because once they get too wide, everything else along that offensive line starts to stretch out in pass pro. So look at those guys get wide. You see that? And this is probably Notre Dame's defense anticipating a bit of their pass sets with this to then go back to the loop. Because look at all of that space that now exists on that defensive line. Look at all those open holes now to spin your way through on the loops and the twists. So you're taking advantage of those tackles, getting too wide, and that there's not a venerable wall of pass protection there anymore. It's a wall that's got spotty openings in it. And now what you're trying to do is attack those spotty openings. Maybe the wave of the future on this one a little bit. I'm not saying I know it for sure, but I've been wondering if this is one of the places that's really going to start to adjust on defensive lines as we go forward. Here, just a pure, simple ass kick and win right here. Just kind of pulls the chair out from under him, doesn't he? Locks up. You can see, look at how amped up the left guard is for his power here. I mean, he's down low. He's trying to win this leverage war, and he just dumps him on his face. That's what happens when you want to win when you're getting a guy that's more powerful than you and you know it. Now you're overdoing things to try to get the win rep. You're overdoing the leverage to try to get the win. And if you got a good pass rusher on the other side of it and they can sense it, they'll do this, which is the pull the chair out from under you move. We see a lot of offensive tackles do this to defensive linemen all the time. You don't see it happen a lot with 3 techs doing it to offensive linemen. But it all comes from having to really, really amp up for that power that's coming and know that you're going to have to bring your A game to deal with it. Let's take a look at a couple of him as far as his run defender here and what he kind of brings to the table on that. I think this is where it is a little bit more of a mixed bag at times. And you see here, he does make the play here. I want you to take note. I think that there's a difference with him in how he plays the run when he's doubled versus when he just gets a single block. So here he's single blocked initially, but the center is going to help him there on just to the side. And the little bit of the initial center help block is enough to kind of drive him a bit out of the hole for the moment and let the running back get through. He recovers, he gets back into the play, keeps it to a pretty short gain. But when you do have this guy dealing with, 2 sets of hands get on him, they will get movement. Even there where it's just kind of an initial barely tapping him touch kind of thing, but it's enough to kind of get the movement there from him. Here you got a 3 tech roll. He's pretty effortless on this one with controlling the rep. I mean, he gets one long arm on the guy and everything's good to go. So it should be just fine here with it. But doesn't end up finding the ball carrier. Till kind of pretty late in the play. I mean, that's a 8 or 9 yard gain there, and that's right through kind of his hole. He does lock the guy up, but he doesn't quite get off the block there to find it, Still, doesn't get pushed either, right? So he can root down. He can give you a little bit of that, especially if you're going to have a guy look like the tight end trying to block him on that one. Not a bad rep here. Just sometimes he's going to get caught up on the block. You've seen it on a couple of these run reps already where the block, he'll get just overly engaged with the block and kind of lose track of where the ball carrier is. He didn't lose it bad here. It's just for an instant. He's not getting pushed. So it's definitely a stalemate as far as the offensive lineman's concerned, but he does keep him at least busy to allow the ball carrier to get kind of around him a bit there. Really nice rep here from our guy. Really nice rep here. So they're going to go right at him. He's going to be on the right-hand side there. 55 is trying to block him up. And this is just what you want to see from him on this side. They're going right at you. Can you handle it at the point of attack? And in single blocks, like I said, he's good in the run when you give him sort of single block situations for the most part. Sometimes can lose track of the ball carrier, but he's not going to be giving up any space. Look, he pushes into the backfield here. So not only is it not a stalemate, he gets the pure win. That offensive lineman's going backwards in this rep for where Mills ends up at. So he can dominate single blocks like this, especially if he gets a guy that's a little weaker at the guard position. Nice job of finding the ball carrier there. There's some good run reps here from him on tape. Some mixed bag aspects to it, but pretty good run defense here overall. Again here, 3 tech, kind of almost aligned out like old school Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett style, right? He's almost shoulder to shoulder with his edge out there. Kind of a cool alignment from Notre Dame. Again, going to be strong at the point of attack, moving laterally, not giving any ground, finding the ball carrier. Smart play. Kind of bullying 60 there. 60 doesn't really get anything done with him. Good job moving your feet and keeping your power. Again, here, go to the point of attack. It's going to be lined up right here as right here, heads up. Not even as a 3-tech, just right heads up over the top of the left guard here. Again, rooting down, strong at the point of attack. Don't get moved. It's about a yard or 2 gain coming right at his spot. So where you get to learn about 3-techs to me is you can learn about 3-techs a little bit and how they chase down plays on the backside when you can feel their quickness and maybe some of the juice and twitch they've got. I like with 3-techs to be able to ascertain whether or not, if I've got a power run play coming at their gap, can, in single block, they hold up on that block, root down, not give up any space, and then be able to also find the ball carrier. Do all of that. And as I've shown in a couple of these reps, he's got the ability to do that. Just don't make it a double team would be all I'd ask of him on that. That's not what he's not going to handle that stuff quite as well. Again, here, a pure controlling of the rep, not getting moved. 52 is going to try to move him off his spot. You can see here, he locks him up, kind of like a tackle dummy, right? He totally tackle dummies him here. Pushes him up, gets under the pads, wins the leverage war, finds the running back, makes the tackle. Pushes him up, locks it down. See here, now the running back first. Watch this here on the slow-mo. Running back wants to get behind the puller. That's where he wants to go, is right behind the puller. But he can feel that Mills has got this in control. The other player's done a good job of filling the hole. And so the running back tries to cut this back the other way. And look at Mills. He's to this side, but still able to control the block enough to where he can whip the guy around and go make the tackle. And that's a feeling of power at that point. That's a real good feel of power on a guy where you go, oh, okay, he can just take a guy and just kind of throw him around there like this. You're not going to do this as much at the pro level, but it shows that the strength part of it is kind of got an extra kind of a little bit of a gear to it on that. He's closing 2 holes in 1 here. Nicely done. Again, just root down. Give him the single block. 52 had a long day at the office here against him. Center can't really decide if he wants to double him or climb down to the next level here. Heads up over that guard again. This is where he'll be, you want to put him in like pure 3-4 looks too, by the way. Because where he's essentially right here, if you wanted to go like old school bear defense, you'd put a nose tackle right over the center and you'd have your 2 defensive tackles in the exact spot there are right now with over offensive linemen 70 and 52. This is exactly what you would do with it. And boy, in these kind of situations, if you do go back to kind of some looks where you're in sort of purified 3-4 looks, he's going to be really good at this kind of stuff. Because you're putting him right in front of guys and you're making the offensive lineman deal with his power right off the jump. You're not getting me slanting up the field. We're going to lock up just like 2 wrestlers at the center of the ring, and we're going to feel if you've got the power or not to sustain with me. And if you don't, I'm going to control you through the rep, and then I'm going to disengage at the right time to go make the tackle. And that's just what you get here. Guy doesn't have the power to hold with him, disengages, finding the ball carrier. So even though he didn't have the greatest of run defense grades, there's some good stuff here. There's a good rep here where he's taking on double teams. I'm going to show you some reps here where there's not as good where he's taking on double teams. But this one's one where he actually does a good job. He gets upfield and really attacks the hole here. He's got 2 guys, shrugs off the first guy. Just feel that power there from him here. Like he's kind of lost the leverage war here. He's lost the leverage war and he's got 2 guys smacking him. You should go backwards here as a player. Only kind of maintains his ground. Maybe gives up about a yard of space, maybe. But fighting the whole way, still finds the ball carrier. He's got to scrape down the line of scrimmage to find the ball carrier, get through the pile of bodies, and then go make the play. Hopefully, again, this shows the big part of it is power and motor. Power and motor. He's going to bring that play after play after play after play. There's no doubt about those 2 aspects of his game. Got to get a little bit better with the hands. Got to get a bit better with the leverage. There's definitely some stuff to clean up there. But a little bit of quickness here off the line of scrimmage in the run game from him. One of the few times here where they're letting him just kind of in the run game just get upfield and climb. He's really just going to attack on this play. Get right up into that gap and then go. So he's got a little bit of penetrating ability. I don't know if it's a centerpiece of his game as much, but there's a little bit of that there with him. Again, you just get the incredible way that Notre Dame on this, they love to slant their guys, and boy, do they slant hard. So he starts over here where I've got the highlighter on. He's going to end up over here, post-snap. So watch how hard he slants on this play. I mean, he's just going wide. And is that because he reads the play? I don't know. Is it because the Notre Dame calls this right and they know that that's where the play is going, and so it's really they have all the defensive line slanting in just the right direction? Could be. But he's all over that play. If it is instincts, those are great instincts. That's great recognition to get all the way over there from there for where the play is going. And the guy's, he wants to go make the play. He wants to get in on this. He's not just trying to look like he's getting his job done against the blocker. And no, he wants to be a factor here, play after play after play. That's one of the things you see with high motor guys in that way. All right, so we got him here. First, take a little bit of a jab step inside and then cut this thing back outside. Throws the center down. A little late to getting over there. Gets a little bit too premeditated with the block, but he whoops the center's butt on this. Hard to get on this play. This is kind of an outside zone run, so not a lot he could really do there. Show you just a couple more of these, you guys, on these ones. Again, a good job here slanting. That's pretty good quickness here. Watch the first step quickness here. Hopefully this is the part that does come back with the torn ACL and that you do get to have this in his bag when he gets back. Lined up as more of kind of almost a one tech there. Able to just kind of muck up the play with that first two steps there into the gap. Kind of dirties it up as far as the read for 45. And you can see here, in taking that step, he takes 63 once to get down to him for the double team and then climb to the second level. So 63 wants to hit him and then get to that linebacker, the offensive lineman there here for, I think it's Vanderbilt. He wants to hit him, but because he takes the slant here, he can't get his hands on him and he's just got to go to the second level. So another smart play of anticipation. I can't say for sure that I know that that's just pure him anticipating where things are going, but there is this on the tape that you do get with him. There's a little bit of this that there is there. We'll show one more here. A little bit of penetration here. Just cuts it through the side. Got him right here. He's going to get upfield. Actually, I think this is him over here. My bad. We got him right here. Good use of hands, good lateral quickness, all stuff I've kind of shown you up into this point. So it's a little bit redundant on this, but you just get a feel on a play like this with a little bit of that. A guy for 300 pounds, a legit 300 pounds, being able to kind of move around that and bend up around that edge like that. I think that kind of stuff's going to work going to the next level. As long as the knee is right and good and up to snuff. We do have a couple of nose tackle snaps in here I wanted to show you because there is some people that were trying to say at the time of the draft to me that this guy would be able to play nose tackle for this team and that would be a part of his game that he would be comfortable with. And watching his tape, I do not believe that he's going to be a nose tackle. It's just not a part of his game. He's a former defensive end convert into 3-tech. It's just not who he's going to be. But let me show you a couple of these snaps to give you the impression on this, okay? That hopefully can close this book up pretty heartily. So showed here, he's lined up right here is not quite a 1-tech, but 2-tech, whatever you want to call it. But he's basically the nose tackle on this play for all intents and purposes, or they got kind of a dual nose tackle situation here. He's going to get double teamed, and just watch on the double team, boom, like he's knocked right out of the area. There's no rooting down here. This is boom, you're out. And this isn't a bad thing against him. Like 3-techs don't have to be nose tackles. So this isn't some grand, horrible thing to his game. It's just, this isn't who he is. You're not going to ask the guy to do something that's, for all intents and purposes, a completely different position. But this is what you see when he does get moved in at nose tackle, is he has a tendency to get driven right up out of the hole and driven up out of the hole very, very, very quickly. Some of it has to really do, too, with the fact the tendency to play a little bit high comes into account on this one. If you're going to play high, it's impossible to beat the double teams. You've got to be a leverage winner to make that stuff happen. So here, lined up more kind of as a 3-tech here, not the 1-tech, but has to take on the double team at the point of attack. And there's a hole right through his spot. Now it's not a big hole, but here's where he starts. Here's where he ends. Look, I'm not asking the guy to be double team. It's hard to take on double teams. And there are no 3-techs in the NFL that are taking on double teams and being consistent about it. So let me be clear on that this is not some great, horrible part of his game that he can't handle double teams really well. It's why nose tackles are so valuable, is there's few men on the earth that can be able to take on these two strong, powerful men pushing on him at once. But it's also just not part of his game, so we do have to dispense with kind of mentioning that this is something that's going to be what he's going to be able to bring to the table. It's just really not as much kind of his game and the point of how his game rolls a little bit. So double team here is going to be right at the point of attack. You do have him a little more here. Again, lined up as a 3-tech, but he is going to take on the double team here. Tackle, guard, take him on a roll. He's completely, there is no even close to holding his ground here. He's blown completely out of the hole. Understandable. Somebody else has got to come in and make the play, and somebody kind of does. But not going to be able to handle double teams. Just not. Last one to kind of lock this in. Double comes again. I mean, he ends up here on one leg on the double team. So watch him here. A little bit more in as a 1-tech here. So lined up, you got your 3-tech over here on the outside shoulder. You got him here, the strong side, 1-tech. Here you go. This is nose tackle all day stuff here. And he's taken right out of the hole. You're not holding up well at the point of attack as a nose tackle if you end up with one of your legs off the ground. That's not going to be a good indicator that things are going right. So just doesn't do that stuff, but that's okay. That's not the worst thing. A little bit of edge, another edge snap here. These are few and far between, but I do get wondering if this is some of the stuff, he can do. I've mentioned that the guy's just a bowling ball knocking down bowling pins. Tell me if this rep doesn't just feel just like that. So here you do get him off the edge. He's comfortable over there. He can do this stuff. He's not explosive, but you give him some of that build-up speed that you can get in Mike McDonald's defense, where he gets to have a couple yard head start run at it, and that explosion to power stuff really shows up, where he's just knocking people over. I mean, there's like 3 Vanderbilt offensive linemen that end up off their feet on this play, specifically just because of him. Just because he's running through, they're just running people over. It's not high art, folks. It's not high art. This is definitely bully ball, just a little bit. But he makes it work, and it's fun to watch. It's definitely fun to watch. Another power edge rep here for you on this one. And this is the kind of one that gets me so excited, because I'm like, man, if he could supply us to this defense, if he can bring this back into play, and he's got defensive end background, he's done it before. Man, if he can do this again like this, just watch how he whoops this guy's butt. I mean, destroys that block, makes the play in the backfield, TFL. Boy, if he could do that kind of stuff to where he's immovable off the edge, he completely just dominates those tackles that try to block him one-on-one out there as a run defender, not necessarily as a pass rusher. This would be a great, great tool to be able to add to this defense and have him fit into that role, especially if we end up with still a little bit of a logjam at the 3-tech position. So you can hopefully feel by these reps, and hopefully these got across the fact that this guy it does do things with that brawler kind of mentality. Then he may not win the rep, he may not create the pressure, but somebody's going to feel some pain, that he's going to come at you snap after snap after snap, and he's going to hammer you snap after snap after snap. And do you have the will to go toe-to-toe with him there? Do you have the will to stand there and take it and match that intensity rep after rep after rep? I don't think there's all the offensive linemen, even in the NFL, do, if they're going to have a guy that's going to bring it like that to that great of a degree over and over and over again. There is some legitimate upside with this guy and what he can bring as far as his ability and, Pro Bowl kind of ability. I don't think it's kind of all pro ability, but to get Pro Bowl ability where you're picking this guy in the draft, yeah, it's probably worth being willing to wait maybe a year to be able to get the fruits of that if that's the time it takes him to come back and get, to full health. But you are looking for upside in this guy, and a guy that can give you some good run defense from the 3-tech role, can maybe give you some run defense from the power edge role, and then can also be a dynamic pass rusher, especially if it's going to be fitting to more of this trend, which is the Seahawks running more of these twists and these loops when it comes to their pass rush. That it's going to be less as we go into the future about guys just having to win a one-on-one against the blocker in front of them. And I don't know that this is the way it's going for sure. I don't want to preface this as well. It just does feel like there's more of this coming to the center point from NFL teams. And I think that even like a Rams team last year got way more pass rush productivity from the collective. It's a talented group, but it's not a group to me with like difference makers across the board. But they all work together and they bought into this kind of design of pass rush, and it allowed them to be then better as a pass rushing unit than I think where their pure talent was at. If you just ask those guys to one-on-one heads up, just go win every rep. And so maybe Seattle's kind of leaning a little bit into this trend. Dirty's got it a little bit with his background as well of having run it prior. And then it fits to this kid's skill set to a T, where snap after snap, he's running off the snap. He's looking to just knock guys off. I mean, he's going to fit the role that you need him to fit to on blitzes and stuff like that too, where you tell him like, okay, here's what we're going to want you to do. Post snap, you're going to go lateral, and then I just want you to knock everything down in your path in front of you. And we're going to run everybody behind you. We got 2 guys running behind you on a blitz. That one of those guys is going to definitely get free as long as you can kind of wreck shop on the front side of this to make it happen. And this guy will do that type of stuff. And there's no statistic for being a good soldier, for doing for doing your role and responsibility on those kind of plays, those blitz-centric plays or the stack box type of plays or the confusion type of plays that you're trying to create for an offense. In fact, you're going to be negatively graded for it. PFF will look at that and they're going to be more off than not saying, well, I mean, what did you really do there? You looped around, but you didn't create pressure. You didn't make the tackle. You didn't get the sack. So we'll give you the negative grade there. This is why I think sometimes players can get a little bit hard on PFF because it's like, I'm doing my job. I'm doing my role and I did it well. What I was asked to do there, I did and performed perfectly. That should be a plus grade for me. So a little thing that'll be fun to watch with him and what they do and how they utilize him and where they're going to put him at. There is that logjam that exists right now where Jaron Reed, Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams, and Rylie Mills, all these guys are really pure 3-techs. You can do a little bit of stuff off the edge with probably Murphy, Leonard Williams, and even Rylie Mills a little bit. But there is going to be a bit of a logjam here as it stands kind of going forward on this, though. I do think a big part of this move was kind of giving Rylie Mills potentially just the whole year to get over the knee and then thinking, hey, we're getting a top 50 player next year after he gets back from this knee. It's like a bonus pick for us, if you were. And not the worst way to go, because like I've said, this team does need to get more difference makers. We got a really good, solid team all the way around. You can find good, above average players at a variety of different positions on this team. We probably now need to elevate and get into a little bit more of finding true blue difference makers. Get the solid with the difference makers. That's where you can get to getting to a contending team. So Seattle was definitely shooting for that in this recent draft. And we'll see if they were able to hit on any of these guys and if they can realize that potential that they tempt and show you that it is kind of there on the tape. Maybe not all the way there, but it is there at least in flashes to give you that belief that you can tap into it in full once they become a pro. I thank you guys for watching today. If you could for me, please do hit that like button. We got a couple donations here from Jeffrey Thistle. Man, my man, I appreciate you for that. Thank you so much. We just did a members call-in show yesterday. So if you are a member, do keep an eye on your community post as I'm posting those membership benefits out over there. Jeffrey Thistle, thank you for the $2 donation. Says the wheels fell off the M's team real fast. Yeah, it's unfortunate with the Mariners. Hopefully they can find some a little bit back to more of the consistent realm as they were starting to really heat up there. But it's really tough for that team because it's got their mode of success, their ability to get to the playoffs, their ability to get to the World Series is through a very thin eye of the needle. Very thin eye of the needle. And it's unfortunate you're dealing with so much financial constraints that just don't allow you to go out there and compete like other teams can compete and spend money like other teams can spend money. It's got to really come from the development angle and that young guys have to come along faster and the pitching staff has to hold everything together. And you got to grind your way through days where you just have no offense. And it's hard. It's the reason we haven't been to the World Series is that it's almost sometimes nigh impossible to make it to that spot when you're built that way. You've created a very narrow opening there for you to find success. And baseball's too tough of a sport to narrow your chances for success. Instead, you need to be doing all the things you possibly can be doing to put out a team that can go and make some noise. So I don't know. Hopefully one of these years, Mariners will decide to start spending some money and understand that that's got to be another part of this process. Yes, development. Yes, putting together the right team for that ballpark, but then also being willing to actually lay down the money, especially considering the fans show up every freaking just about game there, willing to, show the love, and whether you win or not, they're supporting their team. Jeffrey Thistle, thank you for another $10 donation, Jeffrey. Really kind of you, man. I do appreciate that. Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy II, D-Law, Henke, and Mafe coming off the edge from linebacker. Hope Mills won't see more than rotational snaps unless he earns it. Also, where's our nose tackle? We're waiting. Yeah, nose tackle I'm very concerned with right now. That's the biggest maybe concern on this team as it stands right now, in that we are so thin there. We're likely to probably be kicking Byron Murphy in there a lot again. And been going through, I'm preparing for a show on Wednesday. We're going to look at Tyrese Knight, and been catching some of Byron Murphy and some of the film footage I'm looking at of Tyrese last year. I just feel so bad for Byron on some of these snaps where you're just watching him and you're just like, man, there's nothing the kid can do. He is these are pure double teams. He is stuck with the alignment. He's just nothing he can do. Nothing he can do on some of these reps. And so hopefully they can free him up a little bit. I think that with it being so stacked as it is, Jeffrey, that if Mills is going to see the field, it's going to have to be on the back of being just so dynamic. He's come back off of the knee. He's 100%. He's a monster from the jump in training camp. It would have to be something like that for him to get his way in. They're not just going to hand it to him, and there's too many good players in front of him that's just going to make it hard for him to get in there, especially understanding too, Jeffrey, that he can't really play nose tackle. He's not going to be in that role. It's really got to be 3-tech or maybe some edge snaps. But it'll be fun to watch how they work this. And it's also going to be fun to see if it is a little bit more of utilization of Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy more to the edge. You put more of Leonard Williams on the edge, and then you can free Byron Murphy to rock the 3-tech then. Maybe that's a little bit of a way that they go with this. But hopefully there's a plan in place, and there's definitely a lot of talent on that defensive line. Maybe there's not the difference makers, but the collective talent, the depth, and the ability of those guys is all legit to get the job done. That's for sure. It'll be fun though, man, Jeffrey. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, though, they can find a nose tackle here, at least prior to the start of the season, to give us a little bit more solidity there, because Hankins just wasn't particularly good last year. And that's another thing that's shown up on the tape for me on this, is when I have seen Murphy then taken off the field and they put Hankins out there. He's a big body. That's all he was kind of doing last year, is he was a big body. The Miami game, he played really well, but aside from that, it was just sort of big body city in what he was doing. That was pretty much it with it. So we'll see, man. We'll see if they've got an idea of what they're looking to do there, Jeffrey. It's been interesting to watch their approach to the nose tackle position this offseason, and that they don't feel very flummoxed by it, or that it's an issue or needs to be addressed. But maybe we're just going to go with a super light defensive line. Maybe the new hotness is 2-3-techs. Nose tackle is so 2005. It's all about the 2-3-techs now. You need those two light bodies up there. Just stack the box. Just freak them out, change up what they're looking at pre to post snap, and you can get around it that way. Maybe it's the way it's going. I'll tell you this. You look at the Rams last year, they didn't have a lot there at nose tackle. I think Bobby Brown was the guy that would occasionally come in there, but they would a lot of snaps be out there rocking Kobe Bryant and Fisk at the same time. Where you're essentially having 2-3-techs on the field at once in there. So again, we go into like transitions and where the game may be going and how it may be developing. Maybe the game's going to be developing in this position now to where it's less of the guys that are at the 330, 340 pounds. And now you're getting two guys that are 310 that can kind of do some equivalent stuff between 3-tech and 1-tech. And that from that, then you're getting a little bit more mobility, and you're getting a little bit more variety in what you can throw at offenses then, because you're not just having a big pile of sand in the middle that's there to be immovable. It's possible. And I don't know on all these. I just wonder about these as being where the game's kind of going a little bit, is the new iterations and the way it develops. Because the cool thing about football always is that it's always in a state of development and constantly moving into a different direction from where it's been all the way around, offensively, defensively, schematics, play calling, how players are utilized, the need for players to blend between positions. I mean, it's always in just that state of flux a little bit, but in a cool way. All All right, well, we wrap that up on this note. Jeffrey, I thank you for the double donations. We've got a week of shows packed up for you this week, so we're coming back tomorrow. We're going to look at Robbie Oots. So we're going to do a little bit of house dancing, We're going to do a little bit of raving here. Get ready for tomorrow with Robbie Oots, okay? Disco fullback, it's on. We got Tyrese Knight, had the best season for a will linebacker all the way back, not KJ Wright, past KJ, all the way back to Leroy Hill in 2005 to find a season of equivalency to what Tyrese Knight did last year. And so few people are talking about this offseason with Tyrese. So people are giving him really the kudos and credit for that, where that's the best will linebacker, weak side linebacker, rookie season for a Seattle Seahawk in 20 years. Kid's got some legitimate upside to him, and it's going to be fun looking at the tape and what he brings to play here on Wednesday, because he is the full meal deal for the position. The guy tackles, the guy covers. He was maybe the biggest hitter on that Seahawks defense all year long. The NFL doesn't allow you to do as much hitting as they once did, but he was just laying guys out at certain times. So he brings it all to play, can even blitz a little bit on that side of it. We'll be taking a look at him, and then we'll be finishing up on our final two draft prospects I'm going to be doing a real deep dive on here in Ricky White and Damian Martinez on Thursday and Friday. Come back next week, maybe look at Cable Dew and Richmond, and then the UDFAs, and got a few shows after that. So we're going to keep this rolling on through this offseason. We don't slow down here at the Hawks Nest. There is no offseason here at the Hawks Nest. I would appreciate it if you guys could, for me, please do this thing, and that is hit that like button. Maybe sub up if you get the chance to. We'd love to try to get up over 20,000 if we can this offseason. That'd be great. And you can help us get there today by subbing on up. But at the very least, just hit that like button. It shows me up on the algorithm and all those YouTube searches for good content, as people are looking for Seahawks coverage right now to figure out what's what for this upcoming 2025 season. So appreciate you guys watching today. Thank you for hanging in there with this new kind of format. It seems like it's been a very popular one for you folks. So I thank you guys for checking it out and rolling with me on this one. We're going to keep it going. We have a daily show going 5 days a week here at the Hawks Nest throughout this offseason, into the season. We're going to keep it going this way. I appreciate you guys for watching. We will be back in less than 24 hours to take a look at Robbie Oots, the fullback out of Alabama, and also how it is so important to have a fullback in this Clint Kubiak, Shanahan schemed offense. Why it is a necessity, not an optionality. Necessity. So we'll be back soon. Until next time, please don't you ever forget, don't you do it. Go Hawks.